Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We have a great show for you. We're continuing our March Reactions madness, discussing The Mandalorian. And it's going to be great. We're going to have fun because it was a fabulous episode. So let's not waste any time. My name is Aaron Harrison. Joining me, as always, he is I'd say he's the Anakin to my Rex. That'll work. Anakin to my Rex. The David Motters. David, brother, how you doing?
Oh, doing really good with these episodes of Mando. I like that. Anakin to Rex. I like it. That's got a nice little ring to it, and ready to react. And like you said a few minutes ago, this is going to be a fabulous episode because it was a fabulous episode of Mando. So ready to react, buddy.
Excellent. Yes, fabulous episodes of Mando make fabulous episodes and fabulous discussions.
That's right.
A lot of fabulousness going on there. Well, let's get this going. We got a great show. We are talking chapter 18 of The Mandalorian today. This, of course, is called The Mines of Mandalore. This was released on March 8th of 2023, exclusively on Disney Plus. Directed by Rachel Morrison and written by Jon Favreau for Vice President.
Dave Filoni for President.
Dave Filoni for President, Jon Favreau for Vice President. Absolutely. This week in The Mandalorian, Din Djarin begins his quest to find the Mines of Mandalore by first visiting Peli Motto. Mando asks her for a memory chip, but she and the Jawas don't have one. Peli convinces Mando to take R5-D4 with him to Mandalore. Mando reluctantly agrees. Mando shares with Grogu that he grew up on Concordia, the moon of Mandalore. Once on the planet, and after saving R5 from the Alamites, Mando and Grogu descend below the Civic Center in Sundari, or what's left of it. Before Mando can find the mines and the living waters he needs for his redemption, Mando is trapped by an arachnid mech. I like that name. It just suits it. Arachnid mech. Sounds like something from a Godzilla movie. Anyway, Grogu returns to Kavala where to get Bo-Katan's help to rescue Mando. They return. Bo-Katan has an incredible battle, defeating the arachnid mech, and then she takes Mando to the living waters. While in the process of redeeming himself by bathing in the waters, Mando is pulled under. Bo-Katan jumps in and gets Mando from the bottom of the spring. And Bo-Katan comes face to face on their way out with the legend, an actual mythosaur. The episode ends with Bo-Katan in shock at what she had just seen. All right, here we go. David, tell me about your initial reactions watching The Mines of Mandalore.
Oh my God, I love how you say that. It's a total serial type situation, like George Lucas. This in this episode of Flash Gordon. Um, I was so impressed with this episode for a number of reasons. For first, and I think you and I were talking about this the other day. I didn't think we would be going to Mandalore and the living waters underneath the mines of Mandalore until episode 7 or 8, right out of the 8 episodes this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't believe it. I thought we were going to go step by step by step, have a number of different adventures, and ultimately end up there. They just went there. It definitely doesn't appear to be like Andor. It's not a slow burn. It's like bam, right to it. And so, for me, what does that mean for episodes 3 through 8? It's wow. How do you top some of the coolness here? I'm hoping for more wow, and I think they're going to deliver. Again, 8 episodes versus 16. Got to get stuff done. I love the special effects, the creatures on the planet, not just the Alamites, but the kind of the flying lizard bat things. They had green eyes like the Alamites, and that was pretty cool. I love Bo-Katan's fight with the arachnid mech, using the dark saber, no less. She picked it up and wielded that thing all over without it looking heavy at all, like it did for Mando. And of course, just I was sitting there, and as they're coming up, I'm expecting to see something, whatever it was that pulled Din down, and I was like, wait, what? You start to see a little bit of an outline of it, and I'm like, no way. And then to the surprise of seeing that mythosaur, I kept saying, Queel was right, in season 1. So that was really, really cool. And so those are just a few of my initial reactions. Great episode.
It really was a great episode. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, this was the type of episode that we expect from the Mandalorian. When the Mandalorian comes on, this is what we expect. Mm-hmm. Deep themes, deep cuts, deep Easter eggs, smiles, tears, the whole 9 yards. It's what we expect. Like you said, I have to definitely agree. I was surprised we went to Mandalore and to Sundari so quickly, but it was done so well. We've seen, especially coming from our background, David, you and I, with Rebels and Clone Wars and everything, we've seen Sundari in its prime and at its glory, at its height. And to see it in its destruction and the rebel, I mean, it was a gut punch. It really was. It was emotional. I really loved Bo-Katan beginning to open up and share the stories about her family and her growing up to Grogu and to, of course, to Din Djarin as well, because it was. We knew a lot about her already, but we got to see another side and learn more. So I thought that was great. And I think, and I love the character growth we're getting, not just in her, but we're seeing a lot of character growth in Grogu too. And I loved that. I'm glad that things worked out and we started to see a change in the attitude of Bo-Katan, even from the last episode, even from the beginning of this episode. Her attitude just changed by the end of it. And I have to admit, I never would have taken Palimato as a scam artist. Never would have pegged that one. No, I'll admit it. I'm good at reading people, but I blew that one. So...
Jeez. Well, yeah, I mean, with her tooth missing from that episode in Book of Boba Fett, she has a big smile as Mando's taken off and you see her tooth missing, and boy, oh boy, she is quite the scam artist. I never thought I'd feel bad for a Rodian, right?
I know, right? Yeah, watch it. Eventually it'll come out that was Greedo's grandkid.
Yeah, then you're glad she did. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, all right, let's jump into our talking points here. And I want to start off there on Tatooine with Pelimato. Because we, like I mentioned, we got a few Easter eggs in this. He returns to Tatooine right off the bat, looking for this part for the IG unit, which he just kind of ends up tossing aside when he finds out when he is convinced to take the R5 droid. But we see Pelimato. We find out she's a scam artist, so she's scamming the Rodian because she had the Jawa steal the parts out of his speeder. So the speeder would get brought to her to get fixed. She charged him an outrageous price. Then the Jawas come in and just put the parts back in, and it cost her literally nothing.
Right.
The ultimate scam. Yeah. We're gonna replace the parts you had with the parts that we took out of it. Yeah.
But wait, but you got to paint them a different color. So
so they look different. Yeah, true. But it was good seeing Peli again. I mean, she's quickly become a fan favorite character because she provides a comedic element, as she did in this episode with the scam that was going on with the Rodians, the interactions with the Jawas, and of course when Mando arrives in the N1, she's like, where's my baby, where's my friend? And next thing you know, out comes Grogu doing this massive Jedi flip from the N1 starfighter into her arms. And she's like, hey, who taught you to jump like a Lehman? Just a great character overall. So it was fun. How did you feel about going back to Tatooine unexpectedly in this?
Well, now I know where those fireworks, we saw it in the trailer. I'm like, what planet is that over? And so it was really cool that it was for Boonta Eve, and they're celebrating there in Mos Eisley. They do in Mos Espa, and so on. So that was really neat. I really like her. I have, the Pelimoto, and of course Amy Sedaris. You can tell, like, wasn't it back at D23, and she's on stage and she starts doing stuff, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni just start cracking up. I think they love her, and she's just so good at putting people at ease and making them laugh. And, as you were describing this and working that poor Rodian, it really got me thinking about Hondo. It's like this pirate. It's like he's got a good heart in there, but he's a scammer, right?
Yep.
And so I really was thinking about that as you were describing it. But I don't know, I never get tired of going to Tatooine, and going back to see her and her pit droids and even her little BD droid. It's fun, and she is the one, like you and I talked before. I went back and watched those episodes of the Book of Boba Fett when she's helping him build that thing out and hot rod the N1 starfighter out. She's helping him do that, and so there's a little scam in there, but she's also a helper too, and so she's a great character I have in there. It's just a real hit.
Oh, absolutely, she is. And you brought up her cracking up Favreau and Filoni. Did you see the cast photo from the premiere?
No,
of season 3.
I didn't.
I'll have to pull it up and send it to you after we're done here. But it's so awesome. Yeah, the whole cast there, they're all dressed up, and they're all the elegance, Hollywood premiere, tuxes and ball gowns, and all looking regal and elegant. And there's Amy Sedaris right there, dead center, bright neon pink floofy dress that looks like she's going to a dance in the 80s rather than a Hollywood premiere.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there going, yes, of course. Peli.
Yeah, all right.
Of course. But yeah, it fits the character, and the actress fits it so well. So
yeah, very true.
Oh, well, let's get into the meat of the episode, because like we said, we went to Mandalore, man. A lot of people who only ever watched the live action, have never been to Mandalore. If you've watched the animation, you've been to Mandalore several times and have seen it in its glory in the Clone Wars and, of course, in Rebels. So we've seen it. It almost felt like coming home in a way, to returning to Mandalore. And it was sad at the same point to see the devastation and see the destruction there in Sundari and the planet. It was just knowing what we saw. I sat there and there was a scene in this episode where Bo and Din Djarin are walking down a road on Mandalore, heading toward the mines, and just the destruction all around them. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm looking, I'm like, that if it wasn't for all the destruction, I would have thought that was the same road we saw Obi-Wan and Satine walking down during the Clone Wars. And I'm like, just seeing those connections, when Bo-Katan's flying over and the burnt out shell of Sundari, and I'm sitting there going, that's where that's probably down there in that area. There's probably where that Star Destroyer was docked in Rebels.
Oh yes,
that they destroyed.
Yes,
it's just so much memories of Sundari and of Mandalore. It hurt to go back and see that destruction. And I know you got some feelings on this as well, because we were both shocked that we went back so soon. But tell me how you feel going back to Mandalore.
Oh, I loved it. I feel spoiled because we got it in the second episode. I thought it was coming in 7, probably 8, right, leading us into season 4 and stuff like that. And but I thought it was so cool. Aaron, I watched this a second time last night, just taking it all in and really taking notes from my psychology corner. And I'm looking at these special effects, Aaron, not only with Mando flying in the N1 Starfighter, but with Bo-Katan flying in with that, what do they call the, oh gosh, I just blocked on it. Are they not dreadnoughts? What is the name?
I'm trying to remember now.
Yes, it'll come to me. I was just thinking about her ship as it lands. It's just beautiful, and boom, it lands. But in fact, like I thought about what you're saying, as she's flying with Grogu and she looks out the window, and you see, like you said, that burned out dome of Sundari. I'm like, God, that looks like they're in a, they had a camera and a plane and they're flying over a real area that was built like that. Her ship, you'd see the little movement in the front of the wings, and it was just so well done. The special effects.
Gauntlet.
Oh.
The Gauntlet.
Oh, a Mandalorian Gauntlet.
Yes.
And so that flying in, seeing Mandalore, them walking in that area, I thought not only about Obi-Wan and Satine, but I'm like, man, that looks like season 7 of the Clone Wars when Maul and the Mandalorians are battling, Rex and Ahsoka right there on that walkway through there.
Yep.
Yeah, all those vibes, all those memories, but then getting to go down underneath into the mines of Mandalore and then all the way down to the living waters, seeing this stuff, adding more depth, forgive the pun, to a place we've already visited so many times. It was really, really cool and super well done, man. It did not look chintzy at all. That was one episode. And man, oh man, dude, I was so impressed.
Oh yeah. It was very impressive to see. So, and it was good to be back. It was, it's it's a bag of mixed emotions, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right. Well, let's keep moving on here, because one of the great things we saw in the last episode, and we saw it continue heavily in this episode, is Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, teaching Grogu about Mandalore, about his own history, and about how a Mandalorian, stays safe and finds his way through the galaxy. Because what did Jango say? I'm just a man trying to make his way through the galaxy. Apparently, that's what all Mandalorians are doing. Apparently,
Yeah.
but it's cool to see that going, because we're seeing him step in, or Din Djarin step into that father. He kind of took on that fatherly role, and now he's becoming more of that mentor, father, teacher role that as we see him going there. I mean, that's especially showing him how things work in the N1 starfighter. Yeah, these are the planets. This is Mandalore. That's where I grew up, Concordia. And you see this little dot over here on the scope. Yeah, that's where Bo-Katan is. So I just teaching, and of course it pays off in the end, as Grogu ends up going and get Bo-Katan so he could get rescued. But it's good to see that father-son relationship blossoming, and as we see that father in the Djarin's coming out and investing in Grogu.
Yeah, no, and I'll talk about this more in my psychology corner. And again, I mentioned it in our last episode covering the chapter 17, the first episode of season 3. I spoke about all of season 2, really speaking about parenting. I'm talking about mentoring this time, slightly different thing, but this really is an example of that, parenting, mentoring. And like you said, here's the effort paying off. You hope that happens when you are a parent or a mentor, that there's a payoff for that mentee, and it can also benefit you as the mentor. And it's not just about getting a benefit or payback or money or anything like that, but just the satisfaction you see in that. I loved it when Mando does tell Grogu, go get Bo-Katan, and he's able to escape, and points at it for R5, and they go shooting back over there, and that was just really cool to see. But I'm curious to see with all the teaching that Mando's doing, Din Djarin's doing, if we'll start hearing Grogu start saying some words. It seems like he's trying to speak a little bit more here, and but I really enjoyed seeing him talk to him in the cockpit of that N1 starfighter.
Exactly. And we are starting to see Grogu develop as he ages here. Even Pelimato, when she got hold of Grogu, she's like, he said Peli. Is that his first word? I'll admit, I could not hear him say Peli. I didn't hear it, but
no, she's wanting to believe that. That's what I was thinking. She's like, I think it's Peli. She wants to hear that.
So it's like when you take a brand new baby over to the grandparents, are like, and they're all standing there. All of a sudden, the baby spits up, and they're like, he said Grandpa. He said Grandpa.
Exactly.
No, yeah,
exactly.
He's throwing up.
Right.
That's all it is.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, Grogu's growing. He's getting more active, and I that's one thing I really have liked about this episode, and even the last one. Really, we're seeing more activity from Grogu. Mm-hmm. He's being more. There's more interaction with him in the storyline. This last couple seasons, he was just kind of just there, riding around in his little pram and just kind of oohing and ahhing. And I mean, okay, season 1, he did heal the Grief Karga.
Yeah.
Season 2, he did kind of sit there in the cell and toss a couple stormtroopers around, but that was the extent of his activity. Which the stormtroopers tossing around is still probably one of the funniest moments, but besides that, in this episode, Grogu's actually listening, communicating in his own way. We're seeing that, which we're seeing that growth. We're seeing him, follow Din Djarin into the cave, escaping the cave to get back to the ship to go get Bo-Katan, getting to Bo-Katan and bringing Bo-Katan back, and then overcoming his fear to lead Bo-Katan back to rescue Din Djarin. And so it's becoming more. There's more activity, and I'm sorry. I almost feel like the puppet Grogu is actually getting more expressive too, as we've gone on, and now it's the third season of The Mandalorian.
Oh, I agree.
And the expression on his face when he came floating out of the cave after tossing the Alamite with the Force, he comes out with his little paw up. It was such a Jedi pose.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was great to see. So, but any thoughts on Grogu's character development?
Well, I put it in the show notes. You and I always put talking points in, and it's exactly what you said about his growth and development. It's, another thing I thought about in terms of facial expressions when he shows the scared face with Bo-Katan as they're going to go further down, because he's scared of the arachnid mech, and all those other things in there. And that face was incredibly expressive. Almost looked like his eyes were watering a bit, and you're just like, oh, everyone's, I'm sure everybody around the country watching Disney Plus did that. But, I put in the notes, Mando saved by Grogu. And it's really, Mando's really saved by Luke. I started thinking about it just as you were talking. I'm like, wait a minute, when Grogu's trying to get out of there, the arachnid mech shoots something out the end of that staff. And it's just like the training remotes, right? I just watched that episode, and here's Grogu, jumping all around, learning how to avoid that, taught by Luke. Here it serves Grogu so well because he's able to avoid that, hop into the pram and get out of there. And so that's really neat storytelling, isn't it? I mean, coming from Luke's training and helping Grogu. And so it's another mentor, Luke helping Grogu. It helps Mando. Mando teaching Grogu ends up helping him as well. So I guess we could say you can give and then you get, right? So,
absolutely.
So I thought that was really cool by Grogu, the flipping and the jumping, and him, it really saved the day, him avoiding, because if he didn't have that training, he would have been nailed. And he wouldn't have gotten out of there, and that there we go. There's the end of all of Disney's marketing money for selling Grogu things. Could you imagine that? Oh, Grogu got electrocuted by the arachnid mech. Not good. So, anyways, well, I'll stop talking. But that was really cool to see him flip and get in that pram and buzz out of there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we are still talking about the same company that blew up the Razor Crest the week that the HasLab ended. Well, I wouldn't put it past them at this point. But
I know. Goodness. I know.
So, but it's funny because we got, you mentioned it while you were while you were discussing Grogu there, the arachnid mech, and I want to hit on that before we take our break. But did you ever watch Lost in Space, the Netflix show Lost in Space?
Yes. The first season, probably first 4 or 5 episodes,
Is that, did the arachnid mech not feel like it came directly from that?
It does. It does. I didn't think about Lost in Space. I thought about General Grievous, particularly when the top hatch pops open and he crawls out and stands up. The single eye in there, but he stands up and just really, kind of the way he moved, the sound he made. That was what I really thought of. But I do get why people are saying that.
Yeah, that's what I first saw was Lost in Space, and that's what I went to. But I will admit, though, little hatch popping open up top, I was like, I'm like, okay, what creature's going to come out? And I kept picturing a little, oh my gosh, what's his? I just blanked on his name. I've been talking about him all day.
Like the
Meeber Gascon.
Oh, Meeber Gascon. Yeah.
The little Meeber Gascon popping out.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I mean, come on. That would have been perfect to have a little Meeber Gascon creature come popping out, bebopping out of that top of that thing. It would have been a little weird, especially once it jabbed the needle in Mando's leg. But
right.
I mean, it was. I was like, yeah, that probably would have been a pretty funny thing to have pop out of there. But it made the bringing in this mecha arachnid thing just kind of made the whole scene very tense. Because now I'm curious, where did this thing come from, and what was its mission?
Yeah. It just seemed like you could see all of the Beskar plating. Of course, Mando picks up a helmet, and this thing is made a living, literally, off of, sucking the blood and body juices out of whoever it catches. And just mean and nasty. And even that little tiny part with the eye scooted away and got up into that big, arachnid mech again. That was pretty cool. And but no, I hear you. It's I think as Star Wars fans, we want to know the backstory to a lot of these creatures.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we definitely do, and I definitely can't wait to find out what the backstory is on that, because I'm sure it will come up at some point. So we need a dying fan, not a dying fandom, but a loyal fandom wants to know.
That's right.
All right. Well, we are going to take a quick break, but we still got so much to talk about when it comes to the Mines of Mandalore. So stay tuned. We will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We're discussing the Mines of Mandalore, the Mandalorian episode, chapter 18, second episode of season 3. And we're having a great discussion so far, and we're going to keep the ball rolling as we get into probably was the biggest thing to come out of this episode was the renewal of the friendship between Bo-Katan and Mando. As she comes to his rescue thanks to Grogu's retrieval unit. Let's talk Bo-Katan for a little bit, because we saw a different Bo-Katan this season than we've seen the last couple seasons. She was very mission oriented. She had her goals last season. She was passionate about her goals. But then this last season 3 started, and the first episode of season 3, we see a beaten down, broken, depressed, angry at the world individual, which is opposite of what we've seen from her in the past. I mean, even when she was a part of Death Watch in Clone Wars, she had her attitude, she had her angry at the world, but we never really saw the negativity just bring her down to a point of just utter depression, essentially, is where she was at. And of course she blames, you could tell she somewhat blames it on Din Djarin, because he has the Darksaber. But her attitude changes in this as we see Grogu come in and fly in and get her to go help Din Djarin. And we, of course, see her escort him through Sundari and rescue him again from the waters.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Bo-Katan's journey through the Mandalorian, and especially through this episode in particular, where we've seen such a swing in her emotional state?
Well, what I was thinking about, and I knew we would talk about this. As I think about it, and as I watch her in the last episode and this one, I almost feel like, she's confused and she presents in that way. It feels like all of Mandalorian culture, she even talks to Din about it. Like, what makes her sad is that they're so splintered and continue to battle each other. Because, even before the Empire got there, right, you mentioned it, you got Death Watch, you had, Pre-Vizsla there, and you had Satine trying to be a pacifist, and all these factions warring and battling each other. And of course, they need a Darksaber to try to unite them. And so they're just a really battle-hardened, battle-heavy crew. And even when after she saved Din, they're up there eating pog soup. He's like, you were right. It's not cursed. And she goes, well, what was I right? Look around you. And so I kind of wrote down to myself, what does she believe about Mandalore or the curse? Did she believe it was cursed? Did she not? I don't know what her thoughts are. Does she want the Darksaber back? I thought after the last episode, well, I thought her whole thing, Aaron, was, well, I'll let him go. You're a fool. If you get, radiated by being on the planet and die, no skin off my nose. But how can I get the Darksaber back from you off the planet? But I don't know fully what she believes. She revealed a bit about her dad, which was pretty cool, and that she had been down to the living waters before, but apparently I don't think she didn't get in to have to redeem herself. Sounds like some pomp and circumstance down there, for the people of Mandalore. But I don't know. I do, and I wrote this in our show notes too to remind me. Is it kind of like she's playing the role of, I question things, I don't know what I think myself? Din, you're the hardcore believer, and is it starting to rub off on her? And so maybe that's part of it. But I get confusion off of her, but also maybe a little bit of maybe this whole myth of the mythosaur and the magic in the waters is starting to turn around for her. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I was thinking a lot about this since last week, and especially after seeing this episode Wednesday. I when it comes to Mandalore being cursed, I don't think she means the planet.
Oh,
I think she's referring to herself.
Yeah.
Because look at her. Look at the life she's led. And she talked about it a little bit in this episode. She was the warrior daughter.
Yes.
She was expected, and she did. She took the creed. She said the Mandalorian quotes and became the warrior daughter that she was supposed to be. Then when Satine took over, she was the warrior. Well, we can't have peace because I'm the warrior. So then she ends up with Death Watch and being, really, I feel she was probably exploited by Death Watch, by Pre-Vizsla. And so she's dealing with that. Then, of course, when Maul comes into the picture and kills Pre-Vizsla, and of course, then she's on the wrong side of she realizes she was on the wrong side of that fight, and now is against Maul. And she, I think I look at her and I go back to the line from Rebels when Thrawn is talking about Hera. War is all you know. You grew up in it. It's all you know. And that is Bo-Katan. to a T. That is literally all she is known growing up. Yes, she was part of the royal family, but she was raised as a warrior. She was raised to be the warrior. And she lived the warrior life. She was lived as a guerrilla with Death Watch. She lived as anti-Maul warrior. Then she became the leader of Mandalore for a little bit, and she fought the Empire. I mean, it was she has lived her whole life fighting, and she is still fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at some point, it's going to take its toll.
Yeah.
And I think that it is up till this point, it had taken its toll. And now she's having to she sees Mandalore. Her whole goal has been Mandalore. That has been her goal. But the curse that she keeps referring to is not the planet. It is her, because she has been cursed. Almost feels like she has been cursed throughout her entire life, having to be that warrior. Then, of course, when she gets in that leadership role, which being a member of the royal family, you would feel she was destined to be in, she feels she failed in that role as the Empire destroyed the planet. And so she's the one that's, I don't think she feels Mandalore, the planet itself, is cursed, but she is cursed.
Yeah.
And because she is the last surviving member of the royal family, the royal family is it. You look at the Prince William and them in England, the royal family of England. They're England. They're the heart of England.
Mm-hmm.
She's the last surviving member of the royal family of Mandalore. She's the heart of Mandalore. Mandalore is cursed. It's her.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I like it.
So I think we're seeing a redemption journey for Bo.
Yeah.
In this season, because she has to overcome the belief that she's the curse, and she has to find something to fight for. Obviously, looking at the planet, there's no going back to Mandalore. I mean, look at the destruction. I mean, everything. I mean, that planet's wiped out. The ground is crystallized from all the blasts. The magnetic field of the planet's jacked up. I mean, you can't communicate off planet. The planet's, it's gone. It's a wasteland. And that's been her goal. And and I think the reason she never went, she believed it wasn't poisoned and everything, but she never went because she didn't want to face the reality that everything that she's been fighting for and longing for is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think now she starts a redemption journey, finding out who she truly is and what her true goal in life is now, that she's coming to the realization that, now obviously Mandalore isn't lost completely. The Alamites survived. There's a mythosaur there now. So I got a feeling this is all going to play into the ultimate story at some point. But looking at the planet itself, throughout this episode, you could see how, she's like, am I, like, it's not cursed. And she's like, you were right. It's not cursed. Am I though? And I think we're going to see especially at the end with the mythosaur showing up, this is going to start her on a journey. This started her on a journey that who knows where it's going to end for her. And I really want to see where though.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So much stuff. Looking at our notes here. Wow, did I just cover 3 points in one discussion?
Yeah.
I did. Wow.
That was good. That was good. We needed to.
Wow, that was awesome. All right. Well, of course, the biggest thing, the biggest surprise in this episode was the mythosaur. Everybody knows if you're know Mandalore, if you've been following Mandalorians for any amount of time, you know what the mythosaur is. It's that skull that's on the Mandalorian symbol, the mythosaur skull. Well, and it's supposedly this legendary creature and everything. And if you follow the legends of Mandalore, the Mandalore the Great tamed the great mythosaur and and domesticated whatever, and they were all thought to be extinct. Even Bo was talking about it being a legend as she read the plaque out next to the living waters. So, and with her gasp underwater when she locked eyes with it said everything you needed to know. She was shocked. You did not need to see the look on her face. You did not need her to remove the helmet. Between that gasp and the way she just stared at the water, looked at the water, that said it all. Yeah. Now, I just want to know what the rest of the creature looks like, because all we saw was part of its face. Right. And we saw enough of the face to know what we were looking at. Yeah. I just want to know what the rest of it looks like.
Yeah.
Because all we've ever seen is a skull.
Right. Well, less is more, right? I have to admit, I started thinking about the 1978 holiday special where Boba Fett rides. I don't know, do they consider that pink thing kind of a mythosaur? Maybe not, I mean, Boba Fett's riding it. But I'm with you. I'd like to see the rest of it. I wonder how much they're like right now that it's an absolute cliffhanger at the end. She pulls Din out and she's just staring back at the water. And I'm like, well, are you going to go back in? Or you say, hey, Din, let's go back in, put our goggles on in our scuba tank and let's go down. Absolutely tying into Queel, talking about the mythosaur in season 1. Mm-hmm. Going back to Boba Fett with it on his Mandalorian armor, back in the original trilogy. So, yeah, it looked like it was asleep. Did it not to you? And it just kind of opened its eyes?
Mm-hmm. It was kind of just laying there, and you got up eye level, and there's the eye. And then, of course, as she takes off to get him out of the water, you see its head turn as it's like, I guess, going to swim away or whatever. But yeah, all we really saw was that partial face and that eye. And that was...
Oh, and the little horn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I say little horn. I mean, it's like, it was
a big horn.
It's a big horn, but on the side of its head, it's like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, I mean, give me to next Wednesday. I want to see this. But I think it's so well done because I wasn't even thinking about the mythosaur. I was just thinking about the living waters. Mm-hmm. Right. And what a neat thing. Now, the next question is did it pull Din Djarin down or did something else?
I don't think he got pulled down. You got to remember, he's wearing solid Beskar. That's a very heavy armor. So I think what happened is he walked to a certain extent and then there was just no ground there and he went straight down.
Yeah. And he didn't have his back on.
Yeah. I don't think he got pulled down.
Back,
I think he just literally walked off the edge and didn't realize he was walking off the edge.
Okay.
That's my opinion, but because I didn't see, besides that mythosaur, I didn't see anything that would have pulled him down.
Nothing else in there, right?
Yeah.
No right? No dying.
And if that mythosaur would have grabbed him and pulled him down, it would have gone after Bo-Karan.
Yes.
And it didn't. He was just laying on the ground. She picked him up. She flew up. She flew down uninterrupted. She flew up uninterrupted. There was no intervention of any kind. So I think he literally just made a wrong step
Okay. I don't know. I'm still jury's out for me. I don't know. I don't think it was the mythosaur. I don't think so.
No, I'm
Especially 'cause
willing to
it's-
say it's not the mythosaur.
yeah.
I'm willing to say it wasn't any sore, but he just doesn't know how to walk in water.
Okay, well, true.
So, any other talking points you want to hit on before we go into our final reactions?
I am not for me, brother. I'm ready to do final reactions. How about you?
I'm ready. Why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your final reactions, my friend?
All right, brother. So, I was thinking about this, and of course, Aaron and I have been talking about it here. We've talked about Rebels. We've talked about Clone Wars. Gosh, even Boba Fett in Jabba's palace, with that mythosaur, painted on his armor, that's 1983, people. This is a story that's paying off after many, many years. If you're diehard fans like, Aaron and I, it's unbelievably cool to see Sundari in live action after seeing animation. If you're a casual fan, you're probably thinking this is the way, or you're thinking this is like way cool as well. But it's just unbelievable. You can enjoy it whether you are a diehard fan or a casual fan. For us, it is storytelling paying off for many years. I visualize just being a casual fan, being like, wow, this is really cool. They're underneath this city that was bombed, and oh my gosh, they're going down in these mines. Oh, this is cool. Either way, you win, right? I love seeing the training of Luke Skywalker, right? And Grogu's jumping and escape, that really led to Mando being saved. I love seeing that. And also, talking about storytelling, it's really not just from Rebels and Clone Wars and stuff, but it's really from season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian, and really from the Book of Boba Fett last year. And just like I said a few minutes ago, I can't see what are they doing in chapter 19. I don't know, but I'm on board and ready to rock. I'm ready to react to that too.
So am I, my friend. So am I. For me, my final reactions, this was just such a great episode. It was so good. Fantastic storytelling. I loved Grogu's character growth and how he's becoming more active and vocal. Love seeing more of the father-son mentorship between Din and Grogu. And Bo-Katan, man. Oh, man. Katie Sackhoff, she is just killing it with this character and her performance of Bo. She's been on such an emotional swing set lately. It's just, you never know which Bo you're going to get. And her performance during these emotional swings have been absolutely stellar. So awesome performance by Katie Sackhoff. And, I'm happy. I got to say, I am just simply happy with this week's episode. It was great. And I am so looking forward to next week to chapter 19. So, all right. So, of course, we grade our episodes we review, just like if you were in school. You get an A, B, C, D, or F. For me, good episode. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great stuff in it. A lot of great topics. But for me, I'm going to grade it as an A-. How are you grading it this week, David?
Well, I started using I've been stealing from Mason's Air. So, kind of like an A, and I said, 0.5 for the last episode of The Bad Batch, The Outpost, which was incredible. This, I said A and 0.7, so I like this way more than the first episode of this season, which was last week, chapter 17. So I have A and 0.7. So it's getting close to an A+ for me. This was unbelievably good for me.
Very good. Very good. And of course, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think of this week's episode of The Mandalorian, The Mines of Mandalore. You can hit us up on any of our social medias, Facebook and Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, Instagram and Pinterest and Tumblr, where you'll find all of our show notes at SW Reactions, or email us swreactions@gmail.com. David, my friend, I understand you got a psychology corner for us this week.
Well, I do, my friend. And, I'm piggybacking off what I started last week and last episode with chapter 17 of The Mandalorian. And, in that last psychology corner, I was mentioning several different things to look for in Mando's mentoring of Grogu and to think about in any type of mentoring situation. And so what I did is I pulled those forward, and as I watched the show again, I just took little notes where, the different aspects of mentoring. If I saw stuff that fit under that particular aspect, I wrote them down. So let me share a little bit of that. And and we talked last week about Star Wars homework. Just asking our listeners to just kind of keep their eye out for some of these. The first one I had mentioned last week was mentoring that is focused on the mentee. And Aaron and I have already talked about it earlier in this episode, that we really see this with Mando teaching Grogu about Mandalore, Concordia, how he grew up there, and how to read navigation equipment in that N1 starfighter. And of course, Mando says, that way you'll never be lost. That is really good mentoring. And so that's an example of mentoring that is focused on the mentee. Another one is mentoring that provides feedback in a manner that is growth-focused and non-punitive. I didn't have any specific examples under that one. Like I said, each episode, I think, will present different ones. The next one, I actually do have some examples of this aspect of mentoring that conveys warmth and collegiality, right? And you see that, when he says, all right, kid, you ready for an adventure? As they take off out of Mos Eisley. That's warmth. That's exciting. That's great. And of course, I'm excited for an adventure. Also, when Din has to get out and check on R5, he says, don't worry, kid, I'll be right back. Again, just comforting Grogu and some of the worry that he has being on a planet that could be, it is dangerous, not potentially, but is. This one we saw in last episode, it's mentoring that embraces challenging conversations, right? Mentoring knows that tension, misunderstanding, and moments of conflict occur, and it navigates them. We saw the Mandalorian in the last episode, Grogu really sees Mando have a difficult and challenging conversation, not only with the armorer, but also Bo-Katan. In this one, Grogu hears Din and Bo-Katan discuss the destruction of a once beautiful city, right, and planet. Grogu hears Bo-Katan talk about what makes her sad. He even hears her say that her father died fighting for Mandalore. In terms of what makes her sad, here's Grogu hearing her say that, I'm sad because the Mandalorian people continue to be in conflict, split, and ripe for being destroyed by the Empire. And that's important for him to hear that. I really feel like there was some mentoring there by Bo-Katan towards Grogu, even indirectly. The two other aspects of mentoring, I don't have specific examples, but I just want to read them again to keep our listeners on the lookout and keeping their eyes peeled to see these aspects of mentoring. It also is mentoring that shows that the mentor has done internal reflection and models the right behaviors for the mentee. Gosh, you know what I should have done and written right under there? Din Djarin going into the living waters, right? Internal reflection and modeling the right behavior. I need to be redeemed. So There's that example right there. And then the mentor, the mentoring that shows that the mentor never stops learning, just like the mentee. I do hope that Din Djarin learned to not just let his guard down and randomly pick up Mandalorian helmets, because you could never know when an arachnid mech's going to swallow you up in a cage. So I'll tell you what, when that happened, you saw Grogu slide off to the side. Boy, did he learn that thing's scary. So there's some examples. Obviously, I just want to encourage the listeners to continue to think about those aspects of mentoring. Just have fun with it. Watch and see kind of this lone wolf and cub relationship. It's becoming more of a team, as Aaron was saying, and stuff like that. But just keep your eyes peeled for these mentoring aspects, and we'll keep covering them in the episodes to come.
Very good. Very good. Awesome Psychology Corner. David, if somebody wants to talk to you about your Psychology Corner, or about Star Wars, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, sure. 2 different places. The main one is Twitter, and my Twitter address is at David_Modders, Modders, and Instagram. I'm trying to comment more on some of the posts that Aaron is putting up from our Star Wars reactions feed. I really want to get more active there. I love everything that Aaron's doing there, and and all of our different themes on each day. So I'm going to make an effort to do that. But my Instagram address is simply my name, at just David Modders. Search that and you'll find me. But please, check out the Star Wars reactions one as well. Aaron has really done a lot of work to set that up, and it's really cool. Trading Card Tuesday and Who's Who Wednesday and Trooper Thursday. And Ships of the Saga Saturday. Just again, hats off to you, Aaron, for that. I love how that comes out every day.
Thank you very much. It's fun to do, so I hope everybody else is enjoying it as well. So if you do want to talk Star Wars with me, the best place to do that is on Twitter at TAHarris121079. So hit me up there anytime, anywhere. All right, my friend. It has been a blast.
It has, buddy.
We appreciate each and every one of you for joining us this week. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are the best. You're the greatest. We love y'all. We're praying for y'all. Be safe. Take care. Be nice. Be kind. Change the world. Make it a better place. You can do that just one day at a time. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.